My mother-in-law thought I wasn't paying attention when she slipped something into my drink. Special cocktail for my favorite son-in-law, Lorraine said, smiling like she hadn't just done something shady right in front of me. I smiled back, nodded politely, and when she turned her back, I quietly swapped glasses with her husband, Stuart, the same man who never passed up a chance to take a jab at my work. 45 minutes later, he was the one sweating bullets and clutching the bathroom walls. Name's Ethan Grant. I'm 32, a wildlife photojournalist living out in Flagstaff, Arizona. Built my career from the ground up. Weddings, nature spreads, big editorial work. It's not glamorous, but it's mine, and I've gotten damn good at it. Good enough that National Geographic called me back more than once. But to my in-laws? That never counted for much. Especially not to Lorraine. How's the little photography hobby? Stuart used to ask me at dinner, the smug tone in his voice just begging for a reaction. The guy's an investment banker, measures a man's worth by his square footage and stock returns. The only lens he respects is the one on a security camera. Every Sunday dinner at their place followed the same pattern. Lorraine would hover over Brooke like she was the star of some homemaker magazine, while Stuart grilled me about income and retirement accounts like he was doing an audit. Brooke would squeeze my hand under the table, quiet apology, the only real kindness in that house. That week, I'd just gotten back from Montana. A brutal assignment, knee-deep snow, chasing bison across frozen plains for National Geographic. My face was still raw from the wind, and all I wanted was a shower and sleep. But Brooke said we couldn't miss her mom's birthday dinner. Just 2 hours, she promised. I should have listened to my gut when Lorraine cornered me in the kitchen. Her eyes twitched toward the hallway like she was making sure no one else could see. She handed me the drink, fingers trembling just a little. I made it special. Just for you, she said with this forced warmth in her voice. Something was off. I didn't know how often, not yet, but I could feel it. Brooke and I met 6 years ago at an art exhibit where some of my early work was on display. She was finishing a master's in environmental science. I was a no-name with a camera and too much ambition. We clicked fast. She saw the world in layers, just like I did. She understood why I had to capture it. Her parents, though, different story. First time I met Stuart, he sized me up like a bad investment. He expected his daughter to end up with someone safe, a guy with a salary, a pension, and a company car. Someone who reminded him of himself. Lorraine was quieter about it, but no less cutting. She'd compliment a photo, then ask when I planned to grow up and find something more steady. She'd invite me to family events and introduce me to people as Brooke's friend, the photographer, not her son-in-law. I tried everything to win them over. Brought good wine. Talked up my clients. Showed them work I'd published. None of it mattered. To them, I was just a stop along Brooke's path, something temporary. Last Christmas, I overheard Lorraine on the phone. Brooke could have married Thomas, orthopedic surgeon. Family money. Then, in the same breath, she added, but she picked the creative one, like it was some kind of terminal illness. Stuart wasn't even that subtle. When Brooke and I told them we were thinking about starting a family, he pulled me aside and said, "Kids cost money, son. Maybe think about a real job before you bring one into the world." I never told Brooke any of that. She still loved them, even with all their sharp edges, and I didn't want to make her pick sides. So I played the part. Smiled. Shook Stuart's hand. Complimented Lorraine's casseroles. Swallowed my pride. But looking back, there were warning signs I ignored. How Lorraine always pulled Brooke away when I mentioned a new project. How she'd forget to include me in family photos. The time Stuart suggested therapy for Brooke's impulsive choices while looking me dead in the eye. I told myself time would fix it. That if I just kept showing up, they'd come around. I was wrong. That Friday, I came home from Montana with a memory card full of gold and a body that felt like it had been through war. But I cleaned up, buttoned my best shirt, and drove us out to their big colonial-style place in the fancy part of town. Dinner started the same as always, Stuart bragging about some big investment, Lorraine fussing over the table, Brooke's brother Travis and his wife Naomi making small talk to fill the silence. I sipped a beer and quietly counted the minutes. After the main course, Lorraine announced she'd made her famous sangria for dessert. She slipped into the kitchen, and I offered to help carry glasses. That's when I saw it. 2 glasses sat off to the side, separate from the others. Just as I walked in, Lorraine dropped something from a small vial into one of them. Clear. Odorless. Not a garnish. The moment she heard me step in, she stiffened and turned toward me, that same bright tone back in her voice. "Oh, Ethan, don't worry, I've got it. This one's for you. Special recipe from your favorite mother-in-law." My throat tightened the moment I saw it, just a faint shimmer across the top of the glass, like a film catching the kitchen light. "Let me help you carry these," I said, keeping my voice steady as I reached for both glasses she'd prepared. Back in the dining room, Stuart barely glanced up from his phone as I set the drinks down. "Sangria, sir," I said calmly, sliding the tampered glass in front of him instead of taking it myself. I didn't touch the other one. Made some excuse about sticking with water to help me sleep. Then I sat there and watched him drink it. 45 minutes later, Stuart was pale as drywall, drenched in sweat, and stumbling toward the bathroom like his legs barely worked. The sound of him getting sick tore through the house, loud and violent. Lorraine's face went white. She looked across the table at me, and in that split second, we both understood what had just happened. She knew what she'd done, and she knew I knew it. I didn't say a word, didn't raise my voice or make a scene. Just sat there, calm as could be, and ate my slice of chocolate cake while Brooke ran to check on her father. In the noise that followed, Stuart insisting it was bad shellfish, Lorraine fumbling through excuses, I quietly slipped the untouched glass into my bag. The one she'd meant for me. Something inside me changed that night. But it wasn't some big outburst or boiling rage. It was colder than that. Clearer. I wasn't about to let it slide. But I wasn't going to handle it their way, either. I wanted them to see what kind of people they really were, and I wanted them to feel it. That Monday, I drove out to see Jason, a former client of mine who runs a toxicology lab. We'd done a magazine piece together once. He owed me a favor. "Personal or professional?" he asked, raising an eyebrow as I handed him the sealed glass. "Family," I said. That's all I told him. 3 days later, he called. "Ethan, that drink had benzodiazepines in it," he said. "Nothing fatal, but enough to put someone down for hours. Might even cause some memory loss." "Where'd you get this?" I didn't answer. Just thanked him and asked for a copy of the report. That night, I told Brooke I needed to skip the next few Sunday dinners. Said I was swamped prepping for an upcoming exhibition. She looked a little disappointed, but she didn't push back. She had no idea what had really happened. Not yet. I started digging. Over the next 2 weeks, I found out Lorraine had prescriptions for Xanax from 3 different doctors. Not a casual user either. She'd been doubling and tripling doses for years. Then came the stories. Whispers around town. Neighbors saying she'd acted strange at parties. Rumors about jewelry going missing at her country club. Little things the family swept under the rug. I saved everything. Printed records, screenshots, even a few secondhand statements. Then I waited for the right moment. It came when Brooke mentioned her mom needed new photos for some online profile. "She asked for you specifically," Brooke said, still surprised. "Yeah," I replied. "I'll do it." That Saturday, I showed up at their house alone. Camera bag in one hand, a sealed envelope in the other. Lorraine was already waiting, dressed up like she was heading to a gala. Expensive outfit. Hair curled. Makeup perfect. "Stuart's at the office," she offered, like that mattered. "Before we start," I said, my voice calm and even, "you're going to want to read this." I handed her the envelope. Inside was the toxicology report, along with documentation of her overlapping prescriptions. Her hands shook as she opened it. "This is ridiculous," she whispered. "I would never." "We both know exactly what you did," I cut in. "What I don't know is why." That's when her expression hardened. All the guilt drained away. "You're not good enough for my daughter," she said flatly. "You never were. A man's supposed to provide stability, not pictures. And drugging your daughter's husband is your idea of protecting her? It wasn't going to kill you," she snapped. "Just make you sick. Miss that silly gallery show you keep bragging about. I just wanted Brooke to see what kind of man you really are, unreliable. Scattered. She needs better." I let that sit there for a second. Then I looked her in the eye. "Here's how this goes," I said. "You're going to tell Stuart what you did. Then the both of you are going to start treating me with respect, not because you suddenly like me, but because the alternative is your daughter learning the truth." She laughed sharp, cold, fake. "She'll never believe you over us." I slung my camera bag back over my shoulder. "Maybe not. But she'll believe a certified lab report. 3 separate prescriptions under your name. And a town full of neighbors who've been telling stories behind your back for years. You really willing to gamble your relationship with Brooke on that?" I walked out without snapping a single photo. That night, Lorraine called Brooke in tears. Said I'd shown up aggressive and threatening. Claimed I'd made her feel unsafe. When Brooke confronted me, I couldn't keep it quiet anymore. I laid it all out. The report, the prescriptions, even old messages from Lorraine that had gotten more and more unhinged over time. My mom wouldn't do this, Brooke said again and again. But I could tell she wasn't sure. Her voice wavered. Her face said more than her words did. The next day, she went to confront them. I wasn't there. When Brooke came home, her eyes were red and puffy. My dad says it's all a misunderstanding, she said quietly. That you're trying to drive a wedge between us because you're insecure about your career. I just nodded. I figured this would happen. What do you think? I asked. She didn't answer. Just climbed into bed and turned her back to me. I'd finally pushed back, but somehow they still twisted the story. Now I was the problem. And they'd managed to put doubt in the one person who mattered most to me. For the next 2 weeks, Brooke barely spoke to me. She went to her parents' house alone and came back looking drained. I buried myself in work, stayed late in the studio, just trying to ride it out. Then a package showed up. No return address. Just my name scribbled across the top. Inside was a USB drive and a note. You should see this. In Naomi. The drive was full of home security footage from Stuart and Lorraine's house. The timestamps matched the night of the birthday dinner. There was Lorraine in the kitchen, pouring something into a glass. Then me walking in, taking the 2 drinks. Then Stuart drinking from the one she had tampered with. But that wasn't all. There was more footage after we'd already left. Lorraine shouting at Stuart, furious that he drank from the wrong glass. Stuart yelling back, "This isn't the first time you've done something like this." I watched the footage 3 times. It wasn't just confirmation. It was a pattern. And Stuart knew. Another clip followed 2 days later. They were in the living room, arguing again. "He knows what you did," Stuart said. "So what?" Lorraine replied. "It's his word against mine. Brooke will never believe him over us. And if she does? Then she's not the daughter I raised," Lorraine said coldly. "Don't worry. I've already started talking to her about their marriage problems. Planting seeds. She'll be filing for divorce soon, and she'll think it was her idea." I closed my laptop, hands shaking. This wasn't just about me. They'd been manipulating Brooke for years, isolating her, controlling her. I wasn't the first target, just the latest. I called Naomi right away. "Why'd you send this?" "Because they did the same thing to me when I married Travis," she said. "Tried to break us up for 2 years. Told him I wasn't good enough. Why didn't you ever tell us?" "Travis doesn't know," she admitted. "He worships his dad. Thinks I'm just being dramatic. But I couldn't stand by and let them do it again." The next day, I got a text from Stuart. "We should talk. Man to man. No wives." We met at his country club. He was waiting in a private room, sipping bourbon like he didn't have a care in the world. "Ethan," he started, "families are complicated. My wife, she can be difficult. But she's protective. Means well. Drugging someone is meaning well?" He waved his hand like I was being unreasonable. "A misunderstanding. Lorraine takes anxiety meds. Probably got the glasses mixed up. I've seen the footage, Stuart." His face changed instantly. Cold. Hard. "What do you want?" he asked. "Money? Is that what this is really about?" "I always knew you were with Brooke for financial reasons." "I want you to leave us alone," I said. "Stop trying to turn Brooke against me. Stay out of our marriage." He leaned in, voice low. "You think this is the first time we've dealt with someone like you? Brooke always comes back. Ask her about Thomas. Or the one before you." "What are you talking about?" "She was engaged before she met you. Doctor. Good guy. But we didn't like his background. Took us 6 months to show her he wasn't right. She broke it off. Came home crying." He smirked like it was a game he'd already won. "History repeats itself, son." On the drive home, I called Brooke's old college roommate, Bethany. I asked her about Thomas. "Oh God," she said. "That was awful. He was perfect for her. But her parents, they convinced her he was cheating. Planted fake evidence." He tried to explain, but by the time he got through to Brooke, the damage was done. She didn't trust him anymore. The pattern was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just about me, it never was. This was about control. Total, suffocating control over their daughter's life. And they'd done it before. I didn't bring it up with Brooke right away. I kept my head down and started collecting everything I could. I reached out to Thomas. He was hesitant at first, but once I explained what I was facing, he sent over emails between him and Brooke. You could see it, clear as day. Her parents chipped away at their relationship from every angle. I went further, spoke to a few of Brooke's exes, old friends she used to be close with who'd mysteriously vanished over the years. A pattern emerged. Anyone who helped Brooke grow into her own person ended up pushed out of her life. Naomi sent over more footage. One clip showed Lorraine and Stuart talking in the kitchen. Once they divorce, we'll convince her to move back home, Stuart said. She can run the foundation. Meet the right kind of men. I put it all together, emails, video, screenshots on one single drive. Then I invited Travis and Naomi over for dinner. I didn't tell Brooke what was coming. Over dessert, I hooked my laptop up to the TV. There's something you both need to see, I said. We watched everything, footage, conversations, even Thomas's old messages. Brooke sat in silence, face pale. Travis kept shaking his head, muttering, "That's not my parents." When it was over, Brooke looked at me, tears running down her face. "Why didn't you tell me all of this sooner?" "Because I needed you to see it," I said. "Not just what they did to me. What they've been doing to you your whole life." Travis stood up, angry. "This is crap. You edited these. That's not them." Naomi reached out and touched his arm. "They did it to us too," she said. "Why do you think they started treating me better after we had James? A grandchild gave them control again." Travis went pale. "You never told me." "I tried," she whispered. "You wouldn't listen." Later that night, Brooke crawled into bed beside me. "I need time to process this," she said quietly. "But I believe you. And I'm sorry for doubting you." The next morning, Lorraine called. Brooke put her on speaker. "Darling," she said sweetly, "I was thinking maybe you should come stay with us for a bit. Marriage is hard. Sometimes a little space helps give clarity." "Mom," Brooke cut her off. "I've seen the videos." There was a pause. "What videos?" "The footage. Of you drugging Ethan's drink. Of you and Dad plotting to break up our marriage." Silence. "Brooke, whatever he's shown you, it's been manipulated. You know Ethan's always been a little jealous of our family." "Stop," Brooke said firmly. "We're coming over tonight. All of us. Travis, Naomi, Ethan, and me. We're going to have a real conversation. No more lies." After she hung up, Brooke turned to me. "They'll deny everything. They'll try to twist this back on you." I nodded. "I know. So what's the plan?" For the first time in weeks, I smiled. "I think it's time your parents met the real me, the one who doesn't just take photos, but knows how to tell a story." That night, we walked into Stuart and Lorraine's house. I had my full camera gear with me. Tripod, lights, everything. Travis and Naomi were already there, sitting stiff on the couch. Stuart was calm, smug even. "I understand there's been a misunderstanding," he said. "No misunderstanding," I replied, setting up my tripod. "I'm documenting this. For the family archives." Lorraine jumped in. "This is private family business." "Exactly," I said. "And I'm family. No matter how hard you tried to pretend otherwise." For 2 straight hours, we laid everything out. The drink. The manipulation. Thomas. The others. The pattern. Stuart and Lorraine denied it all, called me unstable, accused me of twisting things. But every time they denied something, I played another clip, pulled up another email. Their faces lost more color with every click. Finally, Brooke stood up. Her voice didn't shake. "I love you both," she said. "You're my parents. But what you've done is unforgivable. You don't get to control my life anymore." Travis nodded. "We're adults. We choose our own partners, our own paths." Lorraine started crying, not from guilt, but from realizing she'd lost control. Stuart just sat there, stunned, like he couldn't wrap his head around the idea that his children were standing up to him. As we got up to leave, I handed Stuart a small USB drive. "This has everything on it," I said. "The footage, the emails, the testimonies. It's yours." He narrowed his eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not going to ruin your reputation. I'm not sending it to your business partners or your country club. That would hurt Brooke, and I'd never do that." I paused. "But if you ever try to interfere in our marriage again, if you speak against me or try to manipulate her, then this gets shared with everyone you know." For the first time since I met him, Stuart looked at me with something close to respect. "I underestimated you." "Yes," I said. "You did." 6 months passed. Brooke and Travis started therapy, working through the damage their parents had left behind. Lorraine and Stuart stayed quiet, sent the occasional text, but kept their distance. Then the holiday invitation came. A fresh start, it read. Brooke wanted to go. "They're still my parents," she said. And they're trying. I agreed. But I didn't trust them. When we arrived, everything looked normal. Lorraine had cooked a full spread. Stuart asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested. After dinner, he pulled me aside into his study. "I've got a proposition for you," he said, pouring 2 glasses of scotch. "I've been thinking. Photography's been good to you, sure. But maybe it's time to diversify. I could bring you into the firm. Junior partner track. The salary would be substantial." I took the glass, but I didn't drink. "Why would you offer me that?" I asked. "Your family," he said smoothly. "And I respect how you handled the unpleasantness. You protected Brooke. Stood your ground. That's what a real man does." I set the glass down, untouched. "I appreciate the offer," I said. "But no." His smile twitched. "Ethan, be reasonable. This is an olive branch. A way to move forward." "No," I said again. "It's another leash. You can't buy me, Stuart. And you can't stand the fact that Brooke loves me exactly as I am." His face darkened. The charm dropped. "Don't be a fool," he hissed. "Everyone has a price." I stood up. "That's where you're wrong. And that's why you'll never understand your daughter." I walked back out to the living room. Lorraine was showing Brooke an old photo album. "Look at these," she said. "You were so happy when you lived at home." Brooke saw me and caught the look on my face. She stood up. "Mom, Dad," she said, her voice clear. "I have something to tell you." Everyone turned. "We're having a baby. Ethan and I. I'm 3 months along." The shock was real. Lorraine was the first to recover, rushed to hug her daughter, tears in her eyes. Stuart followed slowly, glancing at Brooke, then at me. "Congratulations," he said, stiff as ever. "Thank you," I replied, then leaned in just enough so only he could hear me. "This child will never be part of your games. Ever. I promise you that." His jaw clenched, but he gave a single nod. He understood. On the way home, Brooke reached over and took my hand. "They'll never really change, will they?" "No," I said, "but they'll have to accept that we have." 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived from Stuart's attorney. Inside was a deed, the house we'd been renting, now ours. Alongside it, legal papers for a trust fund in our unborn child's name. No note. No conditions. No strings. Just the transfer. It wasn't an apology. Stuart wasn't capable of an apology. But this was something. A quiet acknowledgement that we had one. Our daughter was born that summer. We named her Eliza, after my grandmother. When Lorraine and Stuart came to the hospital, they brought gifts and kept their distance. They smiled, took a few photos, and left without offering parenting advice or trying to slip in a lecture about money. It was the most peace they'd ever brought into a room. Months went by. The tension faded. Our relationship with them settled into something steady, not close, not warm, but tolerable. They never said sorry for what they'd done, but they stopped interfering in Brooke's choices. They stopped trying to chip away at my work. One evening, I was in my studio editing a new batch of photos when Brooke walked in with Eliza in her arms. "My mom called," she said. "She wants us to come for Christmas." I looked up from the screen. "What do you want to do?" "I think we should go," she said. "But with conditions. We stay at a hotel. We leave when we want. No unsupervised time with Eliza." I nodded. "Sounds fair." She sat beside me, gently bouncing the baby. "You know, I used to think success meant making them proud, living the kind of life they approved of. And now?" I asked. She looked down at Eliza, then back at me. "Now I know success is about standing by the people I love, making choices I won't regret." 2 weeks before Christmas, a large envelope showed up in the mail. No message on the front, just my name. Inside was a polished brochure, Stuart's firm's annual report. My photographs were everywhere. Landscapes, portraits, architectural spreads. All work I'd shot independently, without his money, his name, or his influence. There was a note clipped to the front. "Hired the best photographer I know. Thought you'd want a copy. S." It wasn't forgiveness. And it wasn't reconciliation. It was something else. Respect, maybe. A recognition that I'd made it on my terms, not his. I didn't call to thank him. I didn't need to. We both understood. This wasn't about gratitude. It was about understanding the new rules, the new boundaries. That spring, I opened my own gallery in downtown Flagstaff. At the opening, Brooke stood beside me, Eliza on her hip. My parents flew in from Oregon. Friends and clients filled the space, taking in the work that had defined the last decade of my life. Lorraine and Stuart came too. near the end. They didn't stay long. Lorraine held Eliza for a minute, under Brooke's watchful eye. Stuart shook my hand, gave the photos an approving nod, and left without saying a word about how I should run my business. Later, as we locked up for the night, Brooke turned to me. Do you think they've changed? I thought for a second. No, I said, but they've accepted they can't change us. She smiled. Sometimes that's enough. That night, we sat on the porch, stars stretched across the sky over the mountains, Eliza was asleep upstairs. And I realized something I hadn't said out loud until then. I hadn't won by beating Stuart and Lorraine at their game. I won by refusing to play. I stood my ground, protected my family, built a life I believed in. Not with manipulation, not with power plays, just honesty, persistence, and love. And that, in the end, was the best kind of revenge. Living well, with the people who matter, on my own terms.